Hello, my name is Steve Waldron, and I'm the GIS coordinator and instructor here in the city of Richmond. The purpose of this video, named Migrating to ArcGIS Pro, is to orient city employees to ArcGIS Pro. If you've watched the Richmond GIS program video, then you know that ArcGIS Pro is the main tool of the GIS professional, and also for people who are identified as city cartographers. Cartographers are people who need to produce hard copy maps. While the course was designed to assist migrating cartographers off of ArcMap to ArcGIS Pro, this video will also be useful to introduce City of Richmond GIS users to Pro, with particular interest of how to find and use the city's GIS layers. One important note to mention at the onset: the ArcGIS Pro software is expansive, and we are unable to teach everything there is to know about using it. People who go to college and even major in geospatial science learn to use Pro and still don't know everything about it. Fortunate for us, Esri provides many online web courses on how to use ArcGIS Pro in multiple facets. So at the end of this video, we will remind the student of how they can search the ESRI training catalog to find these online classes. So with that being said, let's begin. In this course, we'll discuss four subjects: what's different about Pro, what's different from ArcGIS ArcMap. We're going to review the basics of Pro. We're going to show you how to convert an MXD into Pro. And then we'll just talk about what's next. So what's different? The first thing I'd like to say is that ArcGIS Pro receives all the research and development funding at ESRI, while ArcMap is a product they really want to discontinue, so it's being sunset. It's not going to be around for very much longer. ArcGIS Pro is a 64-bit application, which means it can use the full processing power of today's operating systems, such as Windows 10, whereas the old ArcMap product was a 32-bit app. ArcGIS Pro is licensed from having an ArcGIS Online account. I'll demo this. ArcGIS Pro organizes things in a project format. ArcGIS Pro, what's one of the great things about it is you can have multiple maps and multiple layouts all in the same Pro project. Pro uses a contextual ribbon. It no longer uses toolbars that you would turn off and on. This is one of the biggest changes that users have to get used to. And there are more differences you will learn from self-paced online learning plans that we can assign you. So what you'll see in today's video is a presentation of materials using the slide deck, and then I'll frequently toggle over into ArcGIS Pro in order to do demonstrations. So the first thing that this slide shows you on the upper half is that ArcGIS Pro is licensed from having an ArcGIS Online account. So when you start up ArcGIS Pro, you're going to get this old familiar prompt. It's the same one you receive when you log into ArcGIS Online. And once you have provided your login information and ArcGIS Pro opens, you will see your name and the City of Richmond, Virginia organization appear on the top right. Here, I'll toggle over to ArcGIS Pro, and we can see I'm logged in as Steve at the City of Richmond. The bottom half of this slide talks about the project format. So I'm willing to bet that if you're an existing ArcMap user, you're already in the habit of creating a folder, and inside that folder, you have your MXD, and perhaps you've created some shape files, and anything you're creating and doing with that ArcMap project, you're sticking them all in a folder to keep it organized. Well, when you start up Pro, the first thing it does is it creates a folder. And inside that folder, it puts key things that it needs to operate. So in this slide, we can see there's a Pro migrating from ArcMap folder. And inside the folder, there are some key things I'd like to point out. Number one, there'll be the file with the folder with the extension GDB. This is a file geodatabase, and a file geodatabase is now kind of it is like the default format for creating scratch files, geoprocessing outputs, things of that nature. Whereas in the old days in ArcMap, shape files were considered the default format for outputting those types of things. And it's safe to say now that shape files are really pretty antiquated format, and the modern GIS is now using the file geodatabase format. So anytime you're working in Pro, you want to save something out, you want to create something new, it's going to target by default your file geodatabase in your Pro project folder. There's another file in the folder. It's called the project file, and it will have the extension APRX. So if you were to double click on this file, your system will know to open ArcGIS Pro, and it will open this Pro project. And there's also a toolbox. So if you're someone who's more advanced and you create geoprocessing models or geoprocessing scripts of your own, those will be saved automatically in this toolbox. Okay, the next slide, the top half shows you that Pro supports multiple maps and multiple layouts. So let me jump out and show you in real time. Here we can see we have map 1, map 2, map 3. I've got at the current state, I have 3 maps. I could have 4 maps, 5 maps, 6 maps, 7 maps. I'm not sure what the limit is, but you can have many maps within one Pro project. In the past, if you've been an ArcMap user, you probably had multiple MXD files, which you would have to go open up individually. And we have 2 layouts in this Pro project. So a layout is basically a blank canvas, a page upon which you can paste any of the maps in your Pro project. And you can insert things like north arrows, scale bars, legends, all those things that you would use to make a cartographic product. So we have layout 1, which is referencing 2 of the maps, and layout 2, which is targeting the third of the maps. So this is one of the great things about Pro is that you can have multiple maps and multiple layouts in the same project. The greatest change for users is that Pro uses a contextual ribbon. It no longer uses toolbars. So what that means is it's contextual because depending on what you interact with, what you click on in Pro, the tools will change dynamically. It will say these are the kinds of tools that are available in context with the object that you have clicked on or are working with. So in this slide, if we click on a map, we have these tools on the ribbon. If we click on a layout, the tools change. The ribbon looks different. It has different tools on it. So let's go to Pro and take a look at this live. So here, if I've clicked on a map feature, doesn't matter which one, here are the tools. Here's the old familiar tool, add data. If I click on layout, watch how the ribbon will change. Okay, it changed dynamically on the fly. It's occupying the same ribbon space, We're not adding new toolbars. So for a layout, we now have new tools like that north arrow, the scale bar, a legend, adding text, adding whatever graphics you might want, etc. Okay, so I'm going to be pointing out to you as we go along how the contextual ribbon will be changing. And I'll go ahead and mention at this point very early on that the thing people struggle with is they'll ask themselves, where is that tool I need in order to select features or search for an address or whatever it is? Sometimes they won't see the tool on the ribbon that they want to use. So remember what Steve said. The tool is probably on the ribbon when you've clicked on a map feature. So if you click on a map, I suggest you click on map to get the default tools to come up, and the tool you're looking for is probably going to be on this ribbon. Okay, that's what contextual ribbons are about, and it's probably the biggest change for users. Now let's talk about the catalog pane and data sources. So in the old ArcGIS desktop 32-bit app, there were two sister products actually. There was ArcMap, and then there was this thing called ArcCatalog. Well, they've combined them together in Pro, and you can still find the catalog over here in the right side of Pro. There'll be a tab called Catalog, or at the top of Pro in the View menu, if you click on the View menu, the um, the ribbon will change and you'll see that there's a catalog pane here, which is the same as this, or you can go to the catalog view. Either way, how you do it, you can get to the catalog. And the catalog is the same. It lets you navigate through mapped folders that you may have. What is the supported data? Well, of course, you can access an enterprise geodatabase. This is something that our editors would be doing. You can access file geodatabases. Remember, that's the default format now. You can still access shapefiles, and you can access AutoCAD files. And there are other formats that I haven't listed here, but these are the common ones. And we can say that the personal geodatabase format is no longer supported. This is a very old format. It was still supported by ArcMap. I don't think we have any users that are still using personal geodatabases, but if there are, you're not going to be able to use those anymore. That's no longer supported format. So let me jump out and show you a quick view. This section of Pro on the right-hand side is called the pane area. And if I click on the View menu, I can open the Catalog pane over here in this space. Let me close these other windows. Okay, and it lets me navigate. I can see my Pro project folder by default. If I was interested in accessing other folders, I can right click and add a new folder connection. So let's say I want to access my computer's C drive. Well, now I have a folder. I can navigate any of the folders that I want to on my C drive. You just have to right click and map that folder. The default one is your Pro project folder. So if I go inside my Pro project folder, you can see here is the Pro project or the file geodatabase that comes with the Pro project. Okay, so catalog lets you go navigate through folders and things of that nature, and you can get to it in the pane area over here. You can access it from the View menu. Okay, moving right along, we're going to cover some of the basics. We got to show you how to navigate, how to do thematic mapping and symbolizing. We got to show you how to select features, how to do queries. Where are the geoprocessing tools now? How do you find an address? How do you add data to the map? We'll demo all these basics for you. This slide shows three of these things. At the top, navigation. If you go to the map menu, here are the navigate tools. So I've toggled back over into ArcGIS Pro. And the first thing I would say is that if you can't find the tool you're looking for, I want to navigate, I want to zoom in and out and pan, I don't see those tools. That's because you need to be on map and then the map menu. And here are those common tools. So here we can click explore, which lets us click and drag. You could always use the scroller wheel on your mouse to zoom in and out. That's probably the most popular way. Or you can use the old familiar zoom out, zoom in buttons. If you used to use bookmarks, you can still create spatial bookmarks. And you can always do zoom previous. Okay, so this is the navigate section. Thematic mapping and symbolizing. Okay, whenever you want to adjust the appearance of a layer in your map and you click on it, guess what will happen? The ribbon's going to change. In addition to the ribbon change, three new menu items are going to appear. These all have to do with altering the appearance and behavior of the GIS layer. So let's jump over into Pro. We'll use our first map here, and we'll do some thematic mapping. First off, notice how the ribbon is going to change as soon as I click on council districts. Here are those three menu items that just appeared. I can change the appearance by clicking on the appearance menu. And here's where you can adjust the symbology. So let's say, for example, let me zoom out a little bit. Let's say we wanted to change the appearance of the council districts. We can click on here, and this is very similar to ArcGIS Online. And let's symbolize them, not as a single symbol, but unique values. Okay. Many times when you click on a tool and it will open something over here on the pane area. So I can do unique values using the name field. And then let me close my catalog. I don't need to see this anymore. Then I'm going to apply and add all the values. So for the name field, we know we have 1 through 9, districts 1 through 9. And it just picks the color scheme. You can go in and adjust the color scheme as you want it to be. Maybe I want District 2 to be transparent with a black outline. So there you have it. So you can go in, you can customize this. You can do thematic mapping based on any of the attribute values. You have the different ways that you can do mapping as well. Let me change this back. So that they are being symbolized as a single symbol. I want them to be transparent. I want the outlines to be purple once again. And I will apply that. Okay, I'm back where I was. So you click on the layer, you go to the appearance, you can change the symbology, you can even adjust the transparency, you can adjust the scale dependency when it displays in the map, all these different kinds of things that you can do. Let's talk about selecting features. A lot of times you need to be able to select things in order to save them out or do something else with them. So the select tools are all found on the map menu. You can select interactively with your mouse. You can select by attribute values. This is going to be just like we saw in ArcGIS Online filtering, or you can select by location. So I'm going to toggle back and show you where the selecting is. Hey, where's my select tool? Remember what Steve said. Go back to the map and go to the map menu. Hey, here's the selection tools on the map menu. So you can select features using these different methods, right? I'm going to use a lasso. So I'm going to drag a lasso and I've just selected, it says right down here, 5 features. It uses the same cyan color to outline the selected features, just like ArcMap always did. I can clear my selection right here with the clear button. I go back to my presentation. We're going to keep talking about selecting features, but selecting them using the query options. So you can select by attribute or you can select by location. We're going to select by attributes. So let's say I'm new to the city. I don't know which council districts are 4 and 5. So I'm going to use the expression tool. I'm creating a new selection. I'm interested where the name of the district is equal to 4. I can add a new clause and say, or the name is equal to 5 in my scenario. So I'll apply it. And this looks just like the filter tool does in ArcGIS Online. So it's very similar. So here we can see it found district 5 and 4. Okay, so that's how the select by attributes works. Personally, and I think most people agree, that the query tool is much more user friendly than the ArcMap tool ever was. Okay, I'm going to clear my selection. And now I'm going to show you how to use select by location. So let's say we want to find the council districts that are intersected by the arts and cultural district. So that's called a select by location. So the input feature is going to be council districts. That's what I'm interested in locating. The relationship, notice all these different relationships, spatial relationships you can use. I want to find those that are intersected by the arts and cultural district. I'm not going to use a search distance, but I could. That would act like a buffer. And I'm doing a new selection type. So let's hit apply. And look, you can see it has highlighted the council districts that are intersecting the arts district. There are 2 of them. So that's how select by location works. I can use the clear button to clear my selection. Moving right along to geoprocessing tools. Geoprocessing tools are going to be located under the analysis menu. So when you click on analysis, the ribbon's going to change and you're going to see these tools. What's kind of neat about the geoprocessing tools is that there's a palette of them you can use, which will appear right here. You can customize that to include tools that you commonly use, or you can just use the toolbox here, which will open the toolbox in the pane area. So let's go to ArcGIS Pro and let's pretend, hey, I want to do some geoprocessing. I don't see the geoprocessing toolbox anywhere. Well, that's because it's under the analysis menu. The ribbon has changed. And if I click on tools, let me get rid of the symbology here. Here's the geoprocessing tools. Very just like it always was in ArcMap, actually. You can see your favorites. You can go to toolboxes and see all the different categories of toolboxes that exist. Or here, as the slide indicated, you can pull up a palette of some of the most commonly used geoprocessing tools. So if you're someone who likes to clip data, here's the clip tool. If you're someone who needs to do a buffer, here's the buffer tool. Let's use the buffer tool to demonstrate geoprocessing and also to further demonstrate the use of the file geodatabase that comes with your Pro project. So I just clicked on the buffer. The buffer tool opens over here in the pane area. And this time, let's buffer the art and cultural district by 500 feet. So we pick the layer we want to buffer. And the output feature class. Notice if I click here to show where it's going to be saved to, because you're creating something new, it's going to my Pro project folder. And here's the default file geodatabase. So I can click that. Actually, if I click in here, you can see it's targeting my Migrate to Pro file geodatabase right here. And the output is going to be called Arts and Cultural District Buffer. The distance to buffer, I think we said 500 feet. And we'll just take these defaults and we'll run the tool. So what it's going to do is it's going to add it to the map automatically. I think I'll zoom in. I'll turn off the council districts. And here you can see the 500-foot buffer layer. Okay, and this has been saved into the file geodatabase that comes with the Pro project. Hey, let's go take a look at that in the catalog. So where is the catalog? Again, this is the thing most people, it just takes getting used to is all. Where is the catalog? Well, we said that is going to be found under the View menu. And here's the catalog pane. So let's go to Databases, and the default Pro project is right here. And there's my layer. It got saved to that location by default. Okay, a common thing people need to know how to do is I got to be able to find an address or an intersection. So this is very easily done using the locate tool. And remember what Steve said, hey, I can't find the locate tool. We'll go back to the map and the map menu, and you'll probably find the tool you're looking for. So let's go see how the locate tool works. I think I'll toggle over here to a different map just to get a different scenery. And I want to use the locate tool. So I have to come back to the map menu. And here's that locate tool. When I click on locate, it's going to open over here in the pane area. It opened right on top of the catalog. I'm going to get this out of the way. And what we'll do is just type in an address. So let's look for 1010 West 46th Street, let's say. So you'll see a couple different results. You see here, the ArcGIS World Geocode Service is being used. Here it found an address. If we scroll down, We've got the VGen geocoder. This is the state's geocoder, and it found one right here, copy here, and the Richmond locator. So that's interesting. We have all these three different locators that we can use. Notice the world locator is finding things in other states. There's a West 45th Street in Reading, Pennsylvania. The VGen, the state locator, is finding this address in other cities in the state of Virginia, whereas the Richmond locator is using exclusively only the city of Richmond. It doesn't matter which one I choose. I'm going to choose the VGen one. And you can see it zooms us in to 1010 West 46th Street, and it gives us different options. Here's the Richmond locator result. And then it gives us a center line result and an address point result. But regardless, it's returning where it thinks that address is and zooming you in on the map. If you don't like the use of multiple locators, you can change that in this drop down in the locator. So you can turn off the ones you don't want to use. So maybe you only want to use the Richmond locator. If I work in utilities, that's probably not going to work for me because over half our customers don't live in the city with respect to the gas utility. So we'd probably want to use the VGen locator for that. Anyway, let's clear this and see a different result. 900 East Broad. Notice it's only using the Richmond locator, and it zooms us to that location. So that's where the locate tool is found, and that's how the locate tool is utilized. Okay, big topic. How do you add the GIS layers to your map in ArcGIS Pro? Well, I can tell you it's just like in ArcGIS Online. So you're going to go to the map menu. You're going to look for the add data button. And then from the add data button, we want you to search the organization. And I'll tell you what's happening here. The GIS layers that we make available for the city to use are all being published to ArcGIS Online. And in ArcGIS Pro, you're actually reaching out to the cloud, and the data is being streamed back down to your desktop as a GIS web service. That's how the new modern GIS works. So it's the same layer and the same source that you're using in the cloud as you're using on your desktop. The ArcGIS Online layer is the same layer you're using in Pro on your desktop. So after clicking Add Data, make sure you choose Organization, and then you can type in tag words to look for the layer that you might be interested in. Alternately, you can use categories just like you could use in ArcGIS Online. So when you're searching My Organization, you can hit the Filter button and you can go to Categories. And depending on which category you choose, those layers will be presented to you. So let me show you how that works. I think I'll zoom out so we can see the whole map. I think I'll clear my address locate. Okay, the Add Data button is found on the Map menu on the ribbon here. So we're going to choose Add Data. We're going to choose Portal My Organization. So this is searching the ArcGIS Online organization. Think about that. That's pretty cool. If you have a coworker who did a special project and created a brand new GIS layer in their ArcGIS Online workspace, and they've shared it in a way that it's accessible to you, you can use that in your Pro project by just reaching up to the cloud and getting it. Anyway, let's use the filter and categories. So we'll use the filter and the category. And let's use schools again, just to be consistent. So education, here are those 4 layers. I think I'll grab the public schools. It's adding the data from ArcGIS Online. I'm going to turn off the neighborhoods. Be a little bit easier to read. Here we can see the schools have all been mapped. Hey, something else I'll point out. You can adjust the base map you're using in Pro just like you can do in ArcGIS Online, right? So if we click on base map here, we can choose whatever base map we like. How about the light gray canvas? The light gray canvas is kind of a nice base map because it lets you focus on the GIS layer on top of the base map instead of the base map taking all the glory with bright colors and making it hard to read. A little bit easier to see the schools in this case. So that's how you can add data. You can also, if you're adding data, you can go and you can browse your computer, right? You can go to your C drive and your department's G drive or whatever, wherever you might have data. So you can get to it both ways. Okay, so that's how you can add our GIS layers. This is for people who are existing ArcMap users. We've always had this thing in the city that we called the layers library. And basically we had a bunch of layer files that we put in a folder, and we told people navigate to that folder to grab the layer you want. Well, we're not going to be doing that anymore. We're publishing the data to ArcGIS Online, and that's where people need to retrieve the data from. So the layers library is going to get retired. So if you have the habit of using the add data button and navigating to that layers library to get the layers, you'll need to stop doing it that way. You should be using the method that we just covered on the previous page. Um, Here's an interesting one for orthos. I thought maybe I should mention this. Let's see what different orthos we have available. So if we go to add data, all the orthos are available in ArcGIS Online. So you can search the organization, you can use the filter, and you can search for orthophoto imagery. So here's all the different years we have available. We could use 2017. Or we could use any of those other years. By the way, we are getting ortho photos for 2021. I think I'll turn that off for now. Okay, moving right along. Many people, particularly in utilities and works, maybe planning, I'm not sure, but you'll be provided AutoCAD files and you want to use those AutoCAD files in your GIS. So I'm going to go back to this map, and I've got a spatial bookmark set up under bookmarks. And I'm going to add an AutoCAD drawing. So I'm going to use the add data button. I'm going to search on my hard drive, sample files, DWG. Okay, this is a DWG file, an AutoCAD drawing. I'm going to zoom in. You can see all the annotation, the vector lines, everything from the drawing is being displayed on the map. If you like the city's base map, Notice this is not the city's GIS base map underneath. It's still available to you. So if you need to use it, you can go to city base map, and that old familiar city base map will show up. So we've got curb edges and building footprints and stuff like that. And the AutoCAD drawing fits in rather nicely on top of this particular base map. Okay, so AutoCAD drawings, you can use them in Pro, no problem. That's a big issue for our uh, engineering groups. Okay, let's say you have a bunch of MXD files from ArcMap. You can import them into Pro. That's what this slide's showing you. So the way you do that is you're going to go find the insert menu item here and import map. And it's going to add a new map and insert all the GIS layers to it. So I've got two. I've got an MXD we're going to use called Study 1. It's got some center lines. It's got enterprise zones colored with this peach color, and it's got the base map. I got another one. It's called Study 2. It's got these zoning features in it. So let's jump over to Pro and see how easy it is to import an MXD file into Pro. So you go to Map, you go to the Insert menu, and you want to insert using Import Map. The little contextual pop-up there is telling you what it imports. So I've got these files saved in my project for the purposes of this class. So let's grab Study 1. We'll just do Study 1. We'll import Study 1. And you remember the slide we showed you? It had center lines, it had enterprise zones, and it had the base map. So here we've got a brand new map. You gave it the name layers, but we could always go in and rename the map to be whatever we want it to be called. We called Study 1 is what we called the MXD, so we'll call the map Study 1. Okay, it even tries to use the same color schemes. So that's how easy it is to import an MXD file. Now, unfortunately, there's a little bit of work that'll have to be done if you're using that old familiar layers library. And the reason is when you import, the way GIS works is it's pointing and referencing the data. It doesn't actually save the data in your Pro project file. It's just pointing to the data and reading it live. So it's pointing to and reading the data from the layers library in many cases. And we don't want people to use the layers library. So if you're not going to create a new map from scratch and you're going to choose to import it, you need to make sure you update the properties to pull that data from elsewhere. That other place that you should be pulling it from is ArcGIS Online. So what this slide is showing you is the third step in the process. You would need to right click on the layer, go to its properties, go to the source of the layer, click set the data source, and then go find it, right? So this is just like the add data button. You would go to the portal, you'd go to my organization, and then you would do the filter or the searches to find the layer you want. So let's go fix a few items in this map that we've imported. At the top of the table of contents, there's the list by data source view with this little cylinder. If we click on it, it will show us where the data is coming from, list by source. So we can see the center lines are coming from a location here. And I can tell you that this is a shape file. So that's fine. We can leave it the way it is. This one we can see is coming from the layers GDB. That's the big tip off if something's coming from the layers library. So we'll need to right click. These are the enterprise zones. We'll need to go to the properties. The slide said go to the source and change the source. Okay, so here we can see it's pointing to a file geodatabase currently. This is the location of it, and we want to change this. So we're going to set a new data source by going to our portal for my organization, which is ArcGIS Online, our organization. And I'm going to do a search under economic development. And I'm going to use the word enterprise. Well, there we go, enterprise zones. I'm going to choose that layer. Notice it changed. The data type is no longer a file geodatabase. It's a feature service, and the URL is now in here because it's a web service. Look, it just swapped it out. I can click on the feature. Here's the pop-up. It's the exact same behavior as we always had before. Okay, and so we would need to do that for the base map as well. Let's just do one more to drive the point home. We'll zoom in someplace close. So let's replace the road surface. Okay, notice it's pointing to layers GDBs. We don't want to use that data source anymore. So we'll right click, we'll go to properties. They remembered we're changing sources. So let's set it to point to ArcGIS Online. So we go to portal, our organization. The category is base map. And I can see roads is right here. That's what that is. That's roads. So let's grab the roads polygon. We can see the data type changed to a feature service. It's now using a URL. And boom, it just swapped it out. You notice in Pro, you can tell things that are being streamed to you as a service. We'll use this little icon, little blue line connecting to a server, it looks like. Okay, so that's another way you can tell it's coming from ArcGIS Online. So this is something that everyone who is making the switch will have to contend with. If you're not making the switch and you're starting from scratch, at least you've seen how when you go to the map, you can use the Add Data button, and you can get this data the same way you got it in ArcGIS Online. Just go to My Organization, do your filters, do your searches to find what you want. Moving right along. Oh, I guess the fourth step would be delete your MXD once you've migrated it to Pro. Okay, looks like we're going to wrap things up here. We've covered the basics, very, very, very basic. So what's next? Well, you've got to have an ArcGIS Online account in order to have Pro work. So everyone's already done this previously if you've made it this far. We need to get ArcGIS Pro installed on your computer. You would submit a ticket to DIT to have that done. And we can assign a self-paced online learning plan for you to learn Pro. Or in the next slide, I'll show you something cool that you can do alternately. You can convert any MXDs you have into Pro projects if you want to. And you've already taken the Intro to ArcGIS Online Part 1. You've already seen the video for Part 2. And if you wish, you can learn how to publish from Pro to ArcGIS Online. It's an option. Continued about what's next. We'd like you to send us an email. Here's our email to inform us that you've taken the Migrating to Pro class. We will update our records to show that you have taken this class. In response, we're going to send you a link to this slide deck so you can have it. We also can invite you to participate in an online learning plan if you wish. And you will now be eligible to take the Publishing with Pro course if you want to. Let's go back to this workflow diagram that you saw back in ArcGIS Online Part 1. So the way this works, the cloud represents ArcGIS Online. It lives in Amazon Web Services. You can create web maps in the cloud. When you're searching and finding layers, those layers live in ArcGIS Online in the cloud. But sometimes you need to create your own GIS layers. They don't exist yet. Maybe you're doing a special project in ArcGIS Pro, you're doing some analysis, and you want to take the results of your analysis and you want to make an interactive map to show the results. You're going to share those with the public, or you're going to share those with your coworkers or whoever. You need to be able to get that data off your desktop and into the cloud so you can use it in your interactive map. You're not in the business of making PDF hard copy maps, attaching them to emails and sending them around. That's an antiquated way of doing this. We want to create a GIS experience for people. So this is what you're going to do. You can take the data from Pro, you can publish it into the cloud. Once it's there, add it to your map and share your map with the world. So that's kind of the big picture. This is the big workflow. A quick look at the training curriculum. Everybody who's a GIS user has to start off with the ArcGIS Online learning plan. So you've already you've seen the videos, you've got an account, you took part 1, you did an exercise in that. You took part 2 where you learned about the standards and rules for using ArcGIS Online here in the city. You might have even taken a learning plan. Now you've gone through ArcGIS Pro, you've got your account still, you've got to have Pro installed. You've just completed the Migrating to Pro class. And if you wish, we can introduce you to taking learning plans that we've set up. There's also an elective here if you want to learn how to publish. So there's a video you can watch called Publishing with ArcGIS Pro. We'll teach you how to do that now that you've been through the basic intro section. But before we leave you today, and I want to remind you to send us an email, go back to that slide, and send us an email to let us know you've completed this course. I want you to know the online training, I want to remind you of the online training opportunities. So if you go to this URL, which hopefully you've saved, and you sign in with your ArcGIS Online account, there is an abundance of classes in there that you can take to learn how to use ArcGIS Pro. Many of these classes are going to be unlocked with this icon here, and they're unlocked and free for you to take because you are a member of the city's ArcGIS Online organization. So before I leave you, I'm going to jump out into this catalog and show you what this looks like. So here I am. I'm in the catalog. You can see I'm signed in, Steve Waldron, and I typed in the ArcGIS Pro mapping. And I also, under Browse by Topic, I clicked on mapping. So for you cartographers out there, people who just need to be able to make beautiful maps for reports or posters or whatever it might be, you can see there are 61 results based on that search. There's a learning plan here, fundamentals of mapping. There's a tutorial here called the power of maps. Hey, cartography. I'm going to click on this. And we can see that there's a course, a 6-part course. of how to do cartography in ArcGIS Pro. Learn from the experts and make beautiful maps using Pro. So the point I'm making is make sure you come to this catalog and you can find many classes available for you that are free. Map Design Fundamentals. Notice it's unlocked. It's a 2-hour web course. You can take this, okay? So I think this is a great place to leave you. Um, you've been introduced to the very, very basics of Pro, what to expect if you're making the switch from ArcMap. Um, and we wish you luck in your endeavor. Don't forget, you can always reach out to us. Here's our email. Be sure to let us know that you have completed this video.